So, before we start talking about dragons, we should start talking about animals. So think about the bottom of the ocean. We have little slugs crawling along. We have little animals that move like this along. And eventually they start rising up. You have a flounder. It's like a fish that's on its side. And then they start coming up and they leave the bottom. You have crabs that are scurrying along the bottom sideways and lobsters going backwards. And then as you come up, you'll start getting animals doing this. So they like jump, and they'll glide and they'll land. And eventually they glide and they land and they just keep going. And then you have like rays, manta rays and stingrays, but they still go back down to the bottom. And then you have things that don't go down to the bottom anymore. You have fish and sharks who come like this and they start swimming this way. So like a shark would be a ray with smaller fins and doesn't do this anymore. It has more propulsion from the rear. So now it's buoyant. And fish become buoyant. They just rise up by themselves. But they're still going like this or like this. And above them you have dolphins or whales that start doing this. So they all follow these patterns. They're either doing this, like even down at the bottom, flounders are doing this, or they're doing this. Some will do something like this as they go past. Same here on this dimension. So think of underwater as a different dimension. You have an air dimension. And then you have things that crawl along the bottom. You have things that slither along the bottom. Same thing as the lower dimension. And then you have things that crawl along like dogs and cats and deers and hop along, but they don't get airborne. And then you have us, who crawl along the bottom and don't get airborne. So we're still lower. We're still a bottom dweller. Then you have birds. They're above us. But like below, you still have things that are higher than birds, just that we can't see them, they're not in our perception. So think of this for instance. You have different levels of water. You have really dense water near the bottom, and things are really creepy looking with big teeth and fangs and stuff. And you have less dense layer where the submarines hide from submarines above them. And then you have a less dense layer in the salt water. And then you have another less dense layer of fresh water above that. And then you have a less dense layer of water in the clouds. Well, think of this layer as a less dense layer of water. And in this less dense layer of water are things that swim like this, just that you can't see them. Well, you can, but you don't know what to look for. They're here. These things are considered dragons. They are like an eel. If you saw an eel swimming through the ceiling, you would think that was a dragon. Then you have above them things that swim like this, also dragons. So dragons end up swimming like this or like this. Different types of dragons. So this is the way of the dragon. You're trying to move your body to undulate in all directions. So you're not stuck doing this or walking like this. You're trying to be fluid. And you're trying to pick up the force that creates these beings, these animals. So before the animal was there, the force was already there. They're just part of the force now that was there. So all you're trying to do is catch onto this force and capture it inside your body. That's pretty much the whole course. The way of the dragon, you're trying to break down the paradigms of all the different animals into what is considered a dragon animal and keep it inside you as a charge, a battery. This should be different enough, right?
Yeah.